So you can see Death and Glory was just hanging out here. I guess they just decided to just all go hang out, the boys. But we're gonna go with Brad Chester's list. After that, we're actually gonna revisit Joel Romuel. We've actually talked about him a couple times, and he put 4 100s and then lost his last game. So let's see. We'll start with, of course, Brad, the War Chief, Brad Chester himself. Even though Sean Naden's fighting for that position of War Chief now, huh? Bad Rook got his groove back. So we have Captain Bad Rook, Miles Roggs, Nabon Smash Squig, Pain Boy. Don't really see that all the time, right? Not a Pain. We'll see Pain Boss, Pain Boy. Here we go. Warboss, no enhancement. 3 Truck, Flash Skids, Gretchen, Knobs with Power Claws, another unit of Knobs with Power Claws. Big Brick of Squig Hog Boys, 2 to 3-man units of Squig Hog Boys, 3 5-man units of Storm Boys. So this is more akin to what I've been kind of running. I like to run the knobs. I wouldn't say I'm running 2. That's the thing. He's running 2, and he's using the Pain Boy in one of the knob units to bring back the knobs, keep them a bit more durable in a different way, since you could just tell them artist nails and have the 5 of Feel No Pain. So that was an interesting tech piece, and he seems to very much like it. So now we're seeing double knobs instead. So instead of paying just for mega knobs, hey, pay the extra tax and just get more scalpel units. Just and turn that scalpel into a big old, we'll say a precision. And so let's go with the next one with his first matchup. So we have, what is this? The T-Sons. So we start with Ahriman, Magnus the Red, Exalted Sorcerer on this, Thousand Suns Demon Prince, Thousand Suns Sorcerer. Okay, so that's kind of a typical, I think so, right? Typical T-Sons list for now. Only 3 units of Rubrics Marines, and they're all small units with all the icons of flame. Okay, so he has a bit more Zangor Enlightened than I'm used to. 2, still paying for these Forge Fiends, even though they're kind of worth it with those Ectoplasma Cannons. And then Blue Scribe and the Changeling. So it's a bit different considering these Zangors. Maybe I think he paid for a little bit more extra characters. I don't know if Armin's typically on the list. Oh, it's the Demon Prince. That's what it caught me off guard. Okay, so he brought a Demon Prince on that list, a big different. I don't think that was the most meta list, but it was still a good list because it still has a lot of the tools that you want on the T-Sons list. Let's go into his second matchup. And T-Sons are still up and down, a mixture of difficults into orcs. It really comes down to the T-Sons player and if they're running the most meta list. We have very much the potential to beat them, but they're still actually difficult in the right player's hand. So now it's the Golden Boys as the second matchup. Blade Champion. And I still think Custodes can be a difficult matchup for orcs specifically. Of course, we have, dev wounds are now a problem for them as a whole, but they still have a lot of other durability and way to kind of throttle against us in a way that we don't really appreciate as orcs. So we have the Blade Champion with the Veiled Blade, followed by Shield Captain with Ceaseless Hunter, Trajan Volodis, Guardian. Right away, we went with the back with still trying to go with there. So he's still trying to bring as many Guardians as he can, but instead he's going for 2 with the shield, so they get the extra wound, and then the spears for the offensive reliability. 2 units of Prosecutors, and then a small unit, just 2-man unit of Terminators, and then the Wardens. I believe the Wardens go with the Blade Champion usually. Their thing is they get a Feel No Pain for 1 phase. If you're playing into Custodes player, it's not for the whole turn. Keep that in mind. The Feel No Pain is for 1 phase. All right, so this is what you're going to see if you're going to be playing into Custodes list, or you're going to see 3 of the Forge Roll tank. It goes off the Caladius Grab tank. There we go. That's the name. So there's a very respectable list. Can be hard into certain missions specifically as well. But if you have double knob units, you're going in there and you're getting that reliable damage, even with all their durability, with all their debuffs to your offensive potential. You're still going to be able to put enough damage into them typically. Then if they don't wipe your whole unit, you can still fight in death, even if you choose to. Sometimes if they're going to fight first with the Blade Champion and accept the trade, you still have Flash Gits who can essentially sometimes reliably still chip them down. So depending on how you roll, even if they get cover, it's like you really do have the tools as an orc player. You just got to be a bit smart about it when you're going into the Custodes. And I would say we more than now are going to beat them. So we have the Tyranid Vanguard Onslaught. So this is one of the new kind of techie, annoying Tyranid's factions, or sorry, sub builds that they're going to have nowadays. So we have the Death Leaper, the Nero Tyrant, and the Winged Hive Tyrant. So you're seeing him appear more and more, but he's only appearing really on the Vanguard Onslaught list. So we have 2 Gargoyle units, followed by Termagants, 2 units of Barbgants, 2 units of Biovores, only 1 Exocrine, okay, 2 Lictors, followed by 2 more Neurolictors, a Norn Emissary, Ripper Swarms, Tyrant Guard. So the Tyrant Guard actually aren't terrible. They give whatever leader they're attached to 5 of Feel No Pain. And then the Neurothroat. So you get the reliable long range damage. It's not that long, but it's long enough range damage from the Neurothropes. You have the Norn Emissary to hold down one part of the board, and then you're trying to get the Lictors to kind of play the mission in the middle, force you to come out and interact with this army. But all these little chaffy, units that are normally kind of annoying for factions to deal with. The orcs are just beating them up. Even the lictors, most people are like, oh, I don't really have the tools to go punch up a lictor, and they want to, you can't be shot at unless I'm a certain range. Yeah, but orcs are one of those factions that if you throw something like that in that part of the table or run at you, maybe we'll shoot at you a little, and then we'll just tank shock them with the truck. All right, sorry about your lictor, ran him over. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's funny how orcs kind of play that way. It's just, he's all techie and stuff, trying to be interesting. We're like, we're gonna crump you, and you just cover the distance and just beat the crap out of them. So I'm not saying that there wasn't a bunch of skill involved. Of course there was. When someone is playing the Vanguard Onslaught, they typically have, I'm going to play these fixed missions, I'm going to play this, and they've ran their list several times, and they have there's redundancy in what they're trying to do. But they're also not used to the orcs most of the time, and then orcs just run them over because they're like, you're trying to do fancy stuff, get over here, you get, they're squashing them. So yeah, I'd like to hear what Brad Chess. I'm trying to get an interview with him. He did say he would, but he's a busy man. Of course, he has his own channel and such. So maybe if he gets in the mood, we can talk about it. And if he's not busy, of course. But that would be funny to hear because I want to make that same sound effect. You know what I'm saying? So we have the sound effect. The Sun Sentinels. We have the Space Black Templars. So Black Templars, if you didn't peep it in the other one, they have a 59% win rate. Right? So this is the Lord Castellan, Chaplain Grimaldis, High Marshal Helbrich, and Judiciar, so their version of Blade Champion. We have the Primaris Crusader Squad. So this is one of those new, it looks, is getting one of those hordy Space Marine lists where they're like, I'm going to bring 2 big units of Primaris Crusader Squads. Then we're going to bring, what else they got? They got Lancers. I do, I don't like to see them against me, but Lancers, great for Space Marine players. 1 unit of Inceptors, 1 Land Raider Redeemer, Sword Brethren, and Clades Assassin. Okay, so it's really not that many bodies. Clades, Land Raiders, Inceptors, Lancers, all very, very good for Space Marines as a whole. And then you bring this nice tech piece in some kind of, in a hordy fashion with the durabilities and fighting units that most factions aren't really prepared for or don't want to deal with. And orcs are like, what? Get stuck in with a bunch of Space Marines? Knobs are picking up all those little, picking up this Primaris Crusader squad most of the time. Lancers aren't going to have enough time to shoot before they get their value back into most orc lists. So, yeah, hide your Squig Hog boys coming from reserve. Boom, you're going to deal with them. And that was, I'm making sure. So that was his 4th game. And then, interestingly enough, Joe Ramul, and this is how we'll transition on to Joe's list, ended up having to go into the War Chief again and Brad again. It's funny because I think this happened at one of the other events that we covered that he was on, where his last game was into the next best performing orc player, and he beat him too. So here is when Brad actually did win this one as well, of course. So let's see now when we get to see Joe's list, and then we'll look at some of his matchups. So he has Boss Zagstruck. Whoa, that's what I'm talking about. Who's been using Boss Zagstruck, huh? Not that many. I know a couple war bosses have, but Boss Zagstruck's awesome. War boss, he has more attacks than a war boss, in general, because he's sitting at like 6 base. And he has a built up 6 of Feel No Pain. He has 6 wounds. He's awesome. Captain Badrock, Beast Boss on foot, Nobot Smashquig, War Boss, Beast Snagger Boys, Flash Kids, Gretchen, Knobs, Storm Boy. So he did keep it only in 5-man units. So another thing we were thinking is a 10-man unit. Shout out to the boss. 10-man units. Here we go. Zagstruck. Boom. You could just start deciding, hey, I'm going to advance and charge across the table. I'm going to pop. Here we go. And I'm going to be able to threaten you from all over the table. So that's why I was wondering if he brought a 10-man unit, but he did not. And then we have 3 units of Squig Hog Boys. Boom. I'd love to hear kind of how this went in the matchup. And 3 trucks. So this is another very meta orc list. You have the knobs. You have a bunch of you have Flash Kits, knobs, and a bunch of Squig Hog Boys. And you bought the Beast Boss Boys. And interestingly enough, the Zagstruck. So I'm not sure if he just was like, hey, sometimes I'll run Zagstruck alone and just drop him in the backfield, or maybe I'm just hoping that because that's what I want to do, right? But this has the very typical powerful orc tech pieces besides Mazrog, and he just went for more Squig Hog Boys, still brought the reliable Captain Badrock and the War Boss. So shout out to Brad Chester because this is an excellent list to beat, in my opinion. There's a very excellent list to beat in the orc meta right now, and Brad pulled it off with a different kind of firepower in a sense, right? Because he still had flash hits and stuff. So I'd like to hear how that game went. But we'll take a look at Juri Rommel right now because he was having excellent games, and then he just had to run up into Brad Chester. Let's take a quick look at Juri Rommel, who his matchups are real quick, because that was I've considered his list to be pretty powerful as well. So we have World Eaters, Angron. We have Angron, Juggernaut, Jackal, 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, Corn Lord of Skulls. It's funny because Christian, my cousin, just ran something very similar. I think actually the same list as this. as people are teching into this list because they're trying to get turn 1 charges and kind of play their own skew. It's still a strong list and everything. But yeah, you can see with Joel's Rommel's list, you actually have the potential to just annihilate that World Eaters list with the kind of, strength he really did have on his list. So he ran him over 100 points. We'll just shoot through this real quick because I showed you the list. And, this is the second one in this event. So we have Abaddon, this with the spoiler, Cultist Mob, Legionnaires. Legionnaires are actually all right. Chaos Rhino, more Cultist, Land Raider, Chaos Terminators, Havocs, and Knight Desecrator. Okay, so Knight Desecrator, could be kind of scary, but not necessarily anything on that Ork list, on Joel Rommel's Ork list. This just doesn't have the punching potential. You're just going to occupy the table and just destroy anything that gets in your way, and then when those killy units do kind of get close enough to you, you're going to just annihilate them enough, or you're going to maim them to the point that you're not danger anymore. Like, the Chaos Land Raider and such, like, oh, that'll be destroyed and stuff like that. The Legionnaires aren't going to hold against anything on that Ork list. So yeah, I can see him just running these guys over as well, getting 100 points. Let's see what his third matchup was. Golden Boys. So we have, start with the battle line, I guess. We have Guardians, Prosecutors, Terminators. Here we go, grafting. Oh, but he brought a gunship. Okay. Inquisitor Greyfax and Lord Inquisitor Draxus. So this is maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm missing the tech here, but I'm not seeing this winning you many GT events, you know what I'm saying? So very fun. I've actually played against that list. My friend has one. Shout out to Greg Schofield. But yeah, that's not the meta. I can see why he's bringing it. He's like, why not? Maybe he did even win a couple games to get with it. So weird skew is it does have good profiles, but you have to go into like power armor faction to have strength into that. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a meta Custodes list. So we have the Death Leaper, Neural Tyrant, Wing Tyrant. Oh, is this the same one? This might be the same one that had to play against Vlad Chester. Maybe. Let's see. 2 units of gargoyles, yeah. Barbgons, Barbivores, Exocrines, Lictors, Norn Emissary, Tyrant. So this is the exact same list that Brad Chester had to play against. Is that what happened? Yeah, and then this guy ended up crumping him too. That's awesome. Great job for crumping the Tyranid Vanguard Onslaught player. And then he ended up losing that last game to Brad Chester. So one more peep at his list, just so we can kind of get an idea. Boss Zagstruck. Shout out, hey, Joe Rommel, we covered you at least twice. You should hit me up. I want to know what's going on with Zagstruck. You know what I'm saying? Captain Badrug, Beast Boss, Naman Smashquig, Warboss, Beast Boss, Flash Kits, and then Knobs. Of course, love my scalpel, 3 Storm Boys, and then just bricks on bricks, Squig Hog. Just bricks on bricks. All right, that's what we like to see. When you're bringing Squig Hog Boys, bring all the Squig Hog Boys.